Hey guys, is everything okay? Welcome to another full video here on the channel. And in today's topic, we're going to dive deep, really deep, into one of the most anticipated updates in recent times in the Blox Fruits universe, the complete rework of the Buddha fruit. Yes, my friends, the legendary fruit that dominated the meta for years, that was always synonymous with easy farming and absurd resistance, has finally undergone its great transformation. Will it continue to be one of the most used fruits in the game? Or has its time of glory come to an end? In this 60-minute video, we will analyze the history of Buddha, what changed in the rework, new abilities and their mechanics, the impact of this on PvE and PvP, strategies for raids, bosses and sea events, comparison with the old version, and of course, whether or not it is still worth using Buddha these days. Buddha is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most striking fruits in Blox Fruits. Since its release, it has become famous for a simple reason. Its giant transformation increased the range of attacks with swords, guns, and fighting styles, and its resistance made it a damage-tanking machine. For years, it was the favorite fruit for those who wanted to level up quickly, farm bosses safely, do raids with friends, face sea beasts with ease, and even compete in PvP with resistance builds. But over time, players began to realize that Buddha had an invisible problem. It was too good at what it did, and this was unbalancing the game. Today, what seemed like a blessing, having a strong fruit with increased resistance and damage, ended up becoming a problem for the game's balance. Reasons for the rework. Buddha was too dominant in PvE. Almost no other fruit could compete. It increased the range of swords and styles, ignoring several mechanics. Many players used Buddha only to level up, making the game repetitive. In PvP, Buddha builds with absurd resistance made diversity difficult. Bugs involving the size of the transformation affected hitbox and vision. Therefore, the developers decided it was time to give the fruit a new direction. And the promise was clear: to maintain the essence of Buddha, but with a new approach, more balanced and fair for all game modes. The main goal of Buddha's rework was to make the fruit more strategic. Now, instead of relying only on transformation and resistance, the player needs to use the skills correctly with the right timing and positioning. The new Buddha maintains the sacred look and impact that everyone knows, but now has active skills with special effects, gains temporary bonuses instead of resisting all the time, has a more dynamic and less appealing awakened form, received a spiritual energy system key, increased interaction with swords and styles with synergy. In other words, she is still strong, but requires skill to be used. Let's now analyze each of Buddha's new skills after the rework. Z. Divine Palm. A concentrated attack with a giant hand, which causes damage in a straight line with spiritual impact. Knocks the enemy back. Deals area damage. Applies a brief stun effect. X. Sacred Barrier. Creates a shield of light that reduces damage taken for a few seconds. Can be used to tank combos. Ideal for boss fights. Reduces up to 60% of damage for 5 seconds. See Judgment Fall. The player jumps into the air and lands hard, generating a shockwave around them. Great against groups of enemies. Works well in PvE. Can break blocks in PvP. V. Enlightened Form. Buddha's iconic transformation, now with temporary modifiers. Limited duration. Increases range, damage, and resistance. Skills gain extra effects while in the form. F. Heavenly Step. A mobility skill where the player jumps with a holy momentum. Replaces the old flash step. Can be used in the air. Allows you to escape from combos or reposition yourself. The new Buddha is a more technical fruit and less tank and hit. She's still great for PvE and farming, but in a different way. White heavy checkmark areas of impact are better for clearing mobs. White heavy checkmark barriers protect the player while farming. White heavy checkmark sword combos increase efficiency. Crossmark, now you need to pay attention to cooldowns. White heavy checkmark, excellent for bosses with multiple targets. White heavy checkmark, increased rewards with correct use of the transformation. Gameplay now revolves around knowing when to activate enlightened form, positioning the sacred barrier at the right time, using area attacks strategically, combining swords or styles like Dragon Talon, Electric Claw, or Yama, taking advantage of buff time before reloading. She has become an ideal fruit for players who like control and tactical resilience. In PvP, Buddha has become a control and defense fruit. White heavy checkmark can resist fast fruit combos. White heavy checkmark excellent against fruit users like Flame, Ice and Sound. White heavy checkmark combined with CDK or Shark Man, it becomes lethal. Crossmark requires timing. You can't tank everything all the time anymore. White heavy checkmark good for group fights, like in the arena. Best styles and weapons to use with Buddha. Cursed dual katana, CDK, increased range combines with transformation. Electric Claw, mobility and damage with stun. Yama plus Tishita, sacred spiritual build. Sharkman Karate, AoE damage in the sea. Recommended combos. Activate Enlightened Form. Use Divine Palm plus Judgment Fall. Activate Sacred Barrier. Advance with swords and finish with a physical combo. So, after all this, comes the big question. Is it worth using the new Buddha? The answer is yes. But now it requires skill, game vision and strategy. Whoever masters the new Buddha will have a powerful fruit in their hands, with a balance between defense, damage and field control. It's the end of eternal transformation spam, and the beginning of an era where the player makes the difference.